message. It was magic is what it was.
Yeah.
It's 8:31. Welcome back to Great Day as we welcome a guest to the desk who is from Iowa. So it's nice to have another Iowan here joining us at the desk. An author, and if you've been traveling around to various stores, you might have seen this book on display.
The Magician's Lie.
Apparently in Target, we're told. It's right there, right?
Yeah,
Greer
absolutely.
McAllister is joining us right now. And how neat is that, coming back to your home state and finding it in all the different Target stores?
It's been absolutely amazing. I had it was like drinking nostalgia from a fire hose yesterday driving through. I drove from Iowa up through Cedar Rapids up to, I did an event at the Evansdale Library south of Waterloo and smelled the Quaker Oats factory.
Oh, the City
Cedar
Five
Rapids.
smells you went through there.
It's reminds me of my youth.
Now, you are from Janesville?
Yes, I'm from Janesville, so very near Cedar Falls, Waterloo area. So a little of the book is set in Janesville and some in Waterloo.
I was going to say, because the book even kicks off here locally.
Yes, yeah, it starts right in Waterloo.
Now, explain what the book is all about.
The book is historical fiction. It's set in 1905, and it's about a female magician who becomes famous and infamous for cutting men in half on stage. And then there's a suspicion when a man turns up partially cut in half that she might not have limited herself to doing this only on stage.
Might not have been magic.
Right. So she comes under suspicion for murder, and then a small-town policeman, Virgil Holt from Janesville, captures her and tries to find out the truth about whether or not she committed this murder.
All right, now you said historical fiction. Explain that to us.
It's really just any fiction that takes place in the past, and this became a historical story because I wanted it to be set at a time where stage magic was much more part of the popular culture. Today you'll see it in a Vegas show or an occasional TV special, but people don't go out on a Friday night to magic shows. Usually, some they do, but not as often as they used to at the height of vaudeville. So that's why it's set in 1905, and I did a lot of research about the time to make sure I was getting the details as close to accurate as I could get them.
And at that time, were there female magicians? Were there a few of them?
There were just a few. It was a very male-dominated profession, but there were a couple of famous female magicians, one of whom makes an appearance in the book, whose name was Adelaide Herman, and she actually took over her husband's act. She had been her husband's assistant. He died, and she took over his act and practiced very successfully and became known as the Queen of Magic.
Now, I know it's fiction, but if people read this that are from your hometown, are they going to be like, that character kind of sounds familiar?
Probably not.
Oh,
probably not. There's part that takes place there, but the story goes back and forth between the interrogation in the police station in Janesville and then the life story of the magician Arden, who's telling her story to the policeman in hopes that he will let her go.
Where did the idea come from?
The idea really came from something I had noticed never seeing, which was I had seen countless references to male magicians cutting women in half, but never anything about a female magician cutting a man in half.
Right.
And when I did the research, I found out that really the first female magician to do that as her trademark illusion was in the 1980s. So it was a male-dominated profession and has sort of stayed that way, although they've made some strides in the last couple of decades. But you don't really see references to women cutting men in half as part of stage magic.
Yeah, they usually could just cut them off at the knees.
Are you a fan of magic? Is that kind of what you want down
I've
this
sort
road?
of become one as I did this. I've seen some live stage magic shows, but really I got into it because of the book and because of that inspiration and that idea. So I did a lot of research, watched a lot of YouTube videos. You can see so many people giving away the secrets of how to do these illusions. Because professional magicians have a code that they don't give away the secrets.
Right, yeah.
I'm not a professional magician, so I can give away anything I want.
Nothing wrong, yeah.
And there's no code on the internet, so they give away what they want to. So I was able to learn the illusions, describe them in great detail, so hopefully the reader can picture exactly what's going on.
And don't forget, if you are into magic, fool us with Penn and Teller on this station every Monday night, 7 o'clock. It's a great show, and they don't tell you all the little tricks about it, but you're exactly right. It is a code amongst them. Now, have you heard from any magicians that had a chance to take a look at the book or not?
Yeah, a few. I've had some people come to readings. I'm actually doing a reading tonight at Beaverdale Books at 6:30. And other events that I've done, when the book came out on hardcover, for example, they had a magician at the event, sort of doing his, he calls them effects. instead of tricks. Some magicians call them illusions, but he was doing mind reading, card tricks, coin tricks, that sort of stuff. So I got to talk with him in detail about sort of his view on magic and his view on women in magic, which is that women have made great strides in the past.
How long are you going to be in town?
Unfortunately, I have to leave tomorrow morning. I'm doing a bit of a whistle-stop tour of Iowa. Beaverdale Books tonight, and then tomorrow I'll be in Decorah. And then heading out to another state like Ohio. Not as interesting.
Back east somewhere.
You know, I feel like, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago, maybe people weren't as proud to be from Iowa as they are now, and now it's kind of cool to be from Iowa. And I don't know that I see a lot of authors who are from here put their hometown in the book. I think that's kind of unusual. Would you agree with that, or?
I think so. I mean, they always say write what you know, but then if I put my real life into a book, my real life is extremely boring. So there's no reason. That's why I write fiction instead of nonfiction. But I did feel like it was the perfect spot to kick off the story, and the small town policeman really makes a great contrast with Arden, who's very worldly and well-traveled and wealthy after becoming famous as a magician. And so you have a really strong juxtaposition of those two people at the core of the story.
Maybe we have people in the audience who are budding writers. The business is different than it was, you know, a decade ago. Would you have any advice for them?
Keep going. It's really hard. It takes a long time to produce a really wonderful book, and especially if you want to be traditionally published, it is a very long process. It's not for the impatient. But the more you work, the better your work gets, I think. So I would just say keep at it.
How long did it take you to write the book?
This one took me about 5 years to write.
5 years?
From that initial idea of cutting a man in half to handing it off to my editor and not being allowed to touch it anymore, which came midpoint last year. But that was, it was a long process, and it got exhausting, and there were times where I thought I would not make it through, and I did.
But you did. Well, congratulations.
Speaking as a man, I hope this doesn't inspire women to cut more men in half, but I hope it does well for you.
It hasn't so far.
Well, check it out, and people can meet you tonight, Beaverdale Books, 6:30.
Yep.